Hello everybody, Wannabe Reviewer here, and welcome to the Wannabe Podcast, Episode 6. Before we begin, full disclosure, I'm actually not at home right now with my usual setup, so if the audio quality sounds a bit crappy, that's actually because I'm currently recording from my cell phone, of all things, so just want to throw that out there really quickly. Another thing I want to talk about really quick before diving into the week is that last podcast episode, I had said I want to do like a little celebration sort of video in order to celebrate the fact that the channel was going to be turning 2 years old. My original plan had been to do a video and release it on the 31st, like the day of. Unfortunately, though, something that I ordered that was kind of, I guess you could say, key to the video I wanted to make didn't arrive in time, and now I'm kind of, moving on to having to do the podcast and videos for next week and just personal life stuff. So for the time being, the video is getting pushed aside. That doesn't mean I'm not going to do anything. I do hope to do something in the future, hopefully soon, but just for anyone who was wondering, that's kind of what happened, That aside, though, the fact that the channel is 2 years old, heading on 3 now, is incredible and mind-blowing. And as always, just want to give a quick shout out to all of you guys who watch me and support me. I love all of you. And yeah, here's to hoping that the channel has many more years to come. So, with that being said, though, let's dive into the week. I'm going to start off, as last week, with what manga I read. And although I didn't read anything new, I do want to give an update on the manga I shared last week. So starting off with Goodnight Punpun, I read a bit more of it, and at this point, it's all about Punpun being in high school, and he's experiencing all sorts of things. I don't want to give it away, but it continues to get dark, and it continues to get kind of cynical in nature. And I know a lot of you are probably listening to this and wondering, if it's that, depressing, then why are you reading it? And I don't know, the only thing I can really say is because the story is just so well crafted, and I feel like the author just has this story he's trying to tell, and I respect that, and I'm enjoying what I'm reading. I mean, enjoying sounds weird because it's some kind of hard to read things, but you know what I mean. I'm enjoying the experience of going through this manga because, as I said, it's well crafted. The story is just so real in nature. The things that Punpun experiences, I mean, I can't relate to all of them, but some of the stuff, like the loneliness and depression, I feel like that's very human. That's something we've all probably felt at some point. And yeah, it's just a really good story. The art is really surreal and really well done. And so yeah, so I continue to recommend that to anyone who thinks that they can handle it. Once again, if you're maybe the type of person who is depressed or something, maybe I wouldn't recommend it because I feel like this will bring you down. But besides that, if you think you can handle, the darker subject matter, I recommend it because it is just a very well crafted manga. So, moving on to the other manga I talked about last week, I read some more of A Bride's Story, and it continues to be really good, and I continue to really like it. The art style continues to be really well done. The characters are fun and charming. The relationship between Amira and her husband, whose name I always forget, for instance, it's really cute, and seeing them try to figure out their whole, marriage is really nice, and I'm continuing to enjoy it. One thing I do want to say is that after last week's podcast, Teeny Leaf did leave a comment saying that there's more to it than just the quaint family life aspect. And yeah, I think I kind of see what she means now. Maybe she meant something farther up ahead, but at least, from what I had read, there was this conflict that arose that I can see being a recurring thing, and the scope kind of opened up, and we got to see some more people in the community and that kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, it looks like it's true. It's not just the quaint family life, although that is a big part of the manga. There's more to it. There's more to the story. And yeah, I really enjoy it, and I recommend it to everybody. Once again, it's called A Bride's Story. And in case anyone's wondering, by the way, I'm reading all these manga on an app called Manga Master. So I definitely recommend that app in case you don't know where to really find manga to read it. It's this free app, and basically it has this huge library of manga, and I recommend it. So there you go. Moving on to anime that I watched. I watched Skullface Bookseller Honda-san, and as always, that show continues to be hilarious, and it continues to be really relatable. I mean, having worked in retail, I felt like this episode especially is something that I've gone through. In this newest episode, Honda-san is sent to this like orientation / like training thing, and it has to do with how to, I guess, act at a retail job with customers. And I can relate to it because when I worked in like that electronics place for those few years, I got sent at some point to some training like that. And basically, they tell you should act like this, and you should say this, and you should smile all the time, and carry yourself such and such way. And it's all this stuff that just feels so artificial and so over the top. And it's just like so weird, right? And what I like about the newest episode of Honda-san is that they really like make fun of it, and they make it really over the top. Because I think from what I had seen in episode like 2 or whatever, they say that the guy who wrote this like manga originally worked at like a bookstore. So I guess this is like real life experiences. And so I guess he knows what it feels like to have to do these trainings. And yeah, I mean, if you haven't worked retail, having to do these trainings is so weird because it just feels so over the top and so fake. And they want you to act a way that doesn't feel natural. And I don't know, luckily this newest episode of Skullface Bookseller Honda-san like made fun of it, and it was really funny. And as always, I continue to recommend it. I mean, at only 10 minutes an episode, it's a quick watch, and it's definitely the kind of thing that I look forward to every week. So there you go. Moving on to Zombieland Saga. Although I continue to enjoy it because it continues to be really funny and really over the top, and the character moments and interactions are really good, something that I have noticed, especially after somebody pointed it out last week, is that it does kind of suck how it seems like the anime is kind of moving away from the zombie aspect a little bit. Like, even though these last few episodes have had some like gags about them being zombies and like, let's say like body parts coming off and stuff, I do feel like they're moving away from like the supernatural aspect to focus more on the idol aspect of the show. And like I said, well, it's not a big deal, and while I'm not saying that the show's bad per se, it's just one of those things I thought I would throw out there, because if the zombie aspect is the aspect that's kind of, getting your attention, they are kind of moving away from it, unfortunately. I mean, hopefully they bring it back, but for the time being, just thought I'd throw that out there. However, at the moment, I still recommend it. I do still think it's a very funny, really entertaining show, so, Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai continues to be my favorite show of the season. And I know I say that like every week, but that's because it's true. I think this anime is just really interesting and like really unique. The way it carries itself is great. For anyone who remembers, last week I was talking about how I was worried that there was going to be, the usual tropes that you see in any romance anime where they're like, oh, there's a misunderstanding and nobody's talking to one another, and because of that there's all these awkwardness and stuff, right? Luckily though, within like the first 5 minutes of this episode, characters actually talk and they basically figure out the misunderstanding, which is nice. And I don't know, I really like this anime because it just feels really, like, the plot's interesting, the characters just feel real the way they act. Like, the main character, for instance, unlike other anime protagonists, he's not afraid to talk to girls, and he's not afraid to flirt with them or tell them that he's checking them out. And the girls, I mean, they're not afraid to, like, show their feelings either. And when he says, like, he's checking them out or whatever, they react in a way that's an actual human would, they don't just go like babaka and slap them or kick them or whatever. They either say like stop it, or they blush, or they flirt back. Like, interactions feel real, which is nice. And yeah, I just continue to really enjoy this anime. The plot continues to be really good. There's always this sense of like melancholy under the surface that's really interesting. And yeah, just the way it deals with its different themes and stuff is like really well written. And so I continue to recommend it. Finally, the last anime that I watched this week that I want to talk about is Angels of Death. The last time I talked about it, its 12 episode run had ended, and the way it ended was kind of like, you could tell the story was incomplete. Luckily, since then, it had 4 episodes that were released as like specials, I guess you could call them. I mean, I don't know why they did it, since the episodes feel the same in tone and they're like the same length and everything. But for whatever reason, they released them as like OVAs or ONAs or whatever. And basically I watched those 4 episodes, watched them all on 31st. And yeah, the anime's, I like it. It's not the best anime in the world. I wouldn't rate it like a 10 out of 10, but I would easily give it like a 7, maybe a 6.5. Like, it's middle of the road. Like, it's alright. I guess what I like about it is that it portrays itself as like a creepy, horror, gory anime. And the whole way through, that's what it is. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's really trippy and the story's weird. I mean, it's not the best, but it's alright. At least it's consistent. And what I like is that after these 16 episodes, at least it tells the story it wants to tell. I like that, because there's some anime that end on like cliffhangers, or they end at a point where it doesn't feel very conclusive. So even though the ending is kind of ambiguous, like you don't really understand what happens, I like that it told the story it needed to tell, and it, like I said, it kept the tone that it always portrayed itself as, So I liked it. I would recommend it, though not like I wouldn't like heavily recommend it, but I would still say like, hey, if you want to see something that's like in the horror genre, or it's like mysterious and creepy, I'd recommend it because it's fine, Moving on, I didn't play any new video games per se. I played some stuff I've mentioned before, and there's not really anything special to say at the moment. When it comes to movies, I didn't watch anything new. However, something that I did watch was a TV series, and that was Castlevania Season 2. For anyone who saw the review on my channel, wow, I think that this season is really well done. And as I put on the title of my review, I think it might be the best video game adaptation ever. Like, that sounds kind of like an exaggeration, but I honestly can't think of anything else that's been adapted from video games to another media like that successfully. Where do I begin? Dracula, the way they chose to portray him is excellent. They actually made him a really sympathetic villain, and I don't know, you kind of get a little bit of that in the first season when his wife, gets killed or whatever, but here they really go beyond to show the man behind the monster, and it's awesome, you know what I mean? Like, even though he's this dark, looming presence, they also show that he's this sad, heartbroken guy who's depressed because his wife got killed and because he's estranged from his son, you know what I mean? And, the way they portray Dracula is really good. There's a scene that I don't want to give it away, but it's near the end of the season where he just almost breaks down, and it's just it's such a strong moment. You just have to watch it. I think if you watch the season, you'll know the moment, you'll know the moment when it shows up, alright? It's a really great moment though. And yeah, not only that, but the other characters are great as well. Trevor, Sypha, Alucard, they're all really good characters. I think the relationship between the 3 of them is pretty cool. I feel like they really felt like an actual team by the end of the season. I thought the bickering back and forth was really funny and interesting. The way that Trevor and Alucard are just giving each other crap all the time, and it was just really funny. They're being super immature, but it was entertaining, and that was really good. And the new characters were great too. Hector and Isaac are characters that I get a feeling are probably going to have a bigger part in season 3. And yeah, I don't even mind that because they were really good characters. Isaac, for instance, I kind of talked about in my review, but Isaac in the games is this pale, red-headed, emo-looking edgelord who likes to hurt himself. He's really masochistic and stuff. And it comes off as it's fine, but it comes off a little weird. Here though, it's really interesting because they decided to redesign Isaac as this bald, dark-skinned, ex-slave. And that works so much better because he just feels like a real human with an actual backstory. And so that's the crazy thing, that even though they made some changes, they still feel very loyal to the source material. And that's why I'm saying that I think it's such a good adaptation, because even stuff they change is just really good. And so yeah, I'm excited for season 3. It already got greenlit. I'm excited to see where the show goes. As for these first 2 seasons, these first 12 episodes, really good. Definitely recommend them to everyone. I think if you've played Castlevania before, I think you'll enjoy the way they, adapted and expanded upon the universe. And even if you haven't played the games, it doesn't even make that much of a difference, you know what I mean? Like, you can just go in blind and I still think you'll enjoy it because it's just really good. So, yeah, for more information, you can always go watch my review of season 2 as well as season 1. You know, you can go watch those. They're here on the channel. So if you want more info and you want like a spoiler-free review, you can go check that out. So, with that being said, I think that's a good place to transition into the news. And the first story I want to talk about is a really big one, and basically that is the Smash Bros. Ultimate Direct that came out on the 1st, on Thursday. If you haven't seen the Direct or any of the info, I feel like you should go check it out. I don't want to spoil you, because I'm going to like talk about it kind of in depth. You know, I'm going to try to touch upon the key points. So if you don't want to get spoiled, check the timestamps below, just skip over this section because I'm going to talk about the stuff. And so, yeah, I'm going to give you, if you're listening, like 5 seconds to go do that. So, because right after that, I'm going to like just dive right in, start talking about the stuff. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I thought the Direct itself was, I'm not going to lie, I thought the Direct itself was pretty bad up until a point, which I'll get to in a moment. When the Direct started, I thought that most of it was very disappointing because when they finally revealed the last few characters, it was very anticlimactic. The last few characters, I mean, in case you are still here and you just don't know, but you don't like care to get spoiled. The last 2 characters that got revealed were Ken and Infiniror, I think that's how you pronounce the name. And basically, you know, Ken is from Street Fighter, and he's an Echo Fighter for Ryu, which everybody saw coming. Honestly, I'm surprised he wasn't just put into the previous game with Ryu. That would have made sense. And Infiniror also wasn't that much of a surprise because each game always puts a new Pokemon from the current gen, so it just makes sense. And yeah, the reason I say that's kind of disappointing is that, I don't know, I mean, well, I'm still excited for the characters, I think they're good characters, and I want to play as them. They're not really a surprise, you know what I mean? They're just very obvious picks, and they're not very exciting. They're just like, oh, an Echo Fighter and a new Pokemon. Who cares, right? And so that part was disappointed for me, especially after that leak that had talked about there being like 5 new characters and they all sounded really good and they were characters that everyone's been requesting. So that was kind of disappointing. Then I also thought it was a bit disappointing because as they were talking about like the new modes and stuff, I just felt like they were just dragging it out a lot. Like they were talking about like the options menus and the settings and all this stuff. And so that was really boring and that was really disappointing. And so, yeah, like I said, for like the first 30 minutes of the Direct, I was just kind of bored and disappointed, honestly. But then they did turn it around. The first thing that they revealed that I thought was really fun, and I don't know, I think it's really funny, honestly, is that they revealed that I guess if you buy the game and like register it or something before a certain point, you can get as like a free DLC character a piranha plant, which is hilarious because it's literally just a piranha plant in a pot. And so that's going to be like the 75th character or whatever. And that's really funny. I mean, it's sad because apparently a piranha plant got into Smash as a fighter before Waluigi. I mean, that's pretty depressing. But still, I mean, seeing the little piranha plant just hopping around and doing dive kicks and stuff is really funny. And I'm actually really excited to play as it. So, I mean, that turned my mood around a little bit. And the other thing that totally made the Direct redeem itself. I mean, like, seriously, like, if you've ever seen Dumb and Dumber, I don't know if you've ever seen that thing where Jim Carrey's character sells the dog car and Jeff Daniels' character is like super mad at him and yelling at him. And then when he talks about how he has like the little bike, he's like super mad. And he's like, it's the stupidest thing you've ever done. But then you go and do this and redeem yourself. That's what this felt like, where I was like so disappointed, but then like the last part of the Direct just redeems everything. And like I said, for anyone who hasn't seen it yet and like doesn't mind getting spoiled, or anyone who has seen it but just wants to hear a discussion about it, like, oh my god, that trailer for the World of Light thing is just so good. Like, it's anime levels of like craziness. Like, for anyone who doesn't know, basically it starts with all the fighters on this like hilltop, and they're looking out towards, like, over the hill, mountain, whatever. And in the distance, you just see a bunch of those hands, you know, master hands, coming, like, towards them, like, from the sky. And there's this crazy thing in this like at the center of it all. And I'm not sure what it's supposed to be. At first I was wondering if it was Taboo from Brawl, but it doesn't look like Taboo. But some sort of crazy entity. And basically, as everyone's like getting ready to fight, like these lasers start shooting everywhere and start decimating everybody. Like it's crazy. Like if you've seen Infinity Wars and you thought Thanos' snap with people disappearing to dust was crazy, no. You need to watch this because we literally see all these people get decimated one by one. And it's crazy because some people are trying to run away. Some people are trying to like block it. Some people are trying to like fight it. And no, everybody gets decimated except for Kirby. And that's what I find really interesting. Cause like, yeah, Kirby's on his warp star and he's just flying and he like teleports away and then he like lands like wherever he like teleported to and he like crash lands and he looks over the horizon and like everything's all like crazy. And apparently he's like the lone survivor. And that's just like so epic because you would think the lone survivor would be Mario because Mario's like the mascot of Nintendo, right? But no, it's Kirby. It's the little pink puffball. Which, I mean, makes sense because Sakurai made Kirby. So that's his boy. You know what I mean? That's his boy. Of course his boy is going to be the survivor. And yeah, and so they introduced this new mode that just looks really cool. Where basically you're going around these different maps and you're stopping on different points. And each like little space and point, basically there's these things called spirits. So instead of like trophies in this game, there's spirits. And it just, each one represents like a different character from like a different franchise and stuff. Oh, there's a helicopter passing by. That's funny. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Anyway, yeah. So every trophy instead of trophies, there's these spirits. Every spirit represents a different character, and basically, I guess you're like freeing all the spirits because they've been like taken over or whatever. You're returning them to the world or whatever. You're freeing them, and so yeah, every space is like a different match. And it's honestly what it kind of reminds me of now that I'm thinking about it. If anyone's played Hyrule Warriors Adventure Mode, it's kind of like that, where you're moving around a map, you're stopping on different spaces. Every space is like a different fight with different conditions. And as you do it, you're unlocking, I guess, spirits, which you can use to upgrade yourself. And you're also unlocking like the roster, I guess, because you're like freeing them. And oh my god, like not only does it look like really interesting, but it was just so hype because they show all the Nintendo roster and they're all with like these red eyes and they look evil and they're just like staring towards the camera. And I don't know, it was just so epic. And throughout it all, there's just this anime-esque song playing the whole time. There's this lady singing and, it just looks epic. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, the direct was pretty bad in my opinion up until that point, and that like really redeemed it. And now I'm like really excited for this new game. And luckily it comes out like in a month. So that's good. And I know I'm kind of geeking out about it. I just realized I've been talking about it for a while, but it's just like so good. Like literally look up Super Smash Bros. Ultimate World of Light and you'll see the little trailer. It's just so hype. Like, oh man, it's just crazy. So I know I've been geeking out a bit, so I'm gonna try to move on from that. But it was just a really good trailer and I love it and I'm excited for the game. So moving on, after geeking out for a long time, moving on, and speaking of geeking out, another thing that got announced this week that made me pretty excited was that Soulcalibur VI has revealed that 2B from NieR Automata will be a DLC playable character. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I mean, I haven't even bought Soulcalibur VI yet. But based on everything I've seen, I am excited to get it in the future. I mean, I don't know if you guys know, but not only does the game itself look pretty good, but there's this like really robust create a character mode, and people have made all sorts of characters. I mean, they've made everything from, whatever, I'm trying to think, like they've made so much things. They've made anime characters, they made video game characters, they've made like basically anything you can think of, like they've made it. So that's great. And, oh man, just the fact that 2B is going to be in a fighting game like this is just really exciting. I mean, not only do I want to play as her, but it's just so cool. And I think that NieR Automata is a great game. And so I definitely think that 2B making it into a AAA fighting game is awesome. So yeah. Moving on to something that's not very awesome, or at least, I don't know, I'm not excited about it. Bubsy Paws of Fire got announced. Apparently it's coming to PS4, Switch, and PC. And I don't know who keeps asking for these games. I don't know why they keep getting released. Honestly, if you have this much persuasive power to have something like Bubsy come back, I kind of wish you would use your powers for the greater good and do something more productive, like bring a sequel back that people have been waiting for. But whatever, it is what it is. So yeah, new Bubsy game coming. Honestly, as much as I'm kind of like crapping on it, it looks okay, honestly. I mean, especially compared to that last game that came out like a year or two ago. That game was just like really lazy and like really like hashed together. And this, based on the little trailer that is in the description, it actually doesn't look too bad. It looks like some work has actually been put into it. Like, there's 4 playable characters, there's different, like, gameplay styles, there's different, like, environments and stuff. Like, it honestly does look like some work has been put into it. So, as much as, you know, I want to say, like, oh, another Bubsy game, who cares? I gotta admit, I mean, at least based on the trailer, it does look like it could be good. Or at least better than, like, it looks like the series could at least redeem itself, since it's so infamous for being bad. It at least looks like it can be decent, you know? So, yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see how that goes. Speaking of see how that goes, we got a first look at Henry Cavill dressed up as Geralt. I don't, how do you pronounce his name? Geralt? I don't know. I think that's why people call him, like, Jerry or whatever. It's just easier to say. But yeah, we saw Henry Cavill dressed as Jerry for the Witcher series that's going to come out on Netflix. And honestly, I think he looks silly. Like, just looking at the footage, I think he looks silly. I think the wig, he just looks really fake and looks really dumb, honestly. Like, well, I think the clothes looks fine. Well, I think, you know, his face isn't terrible. I just think that the wig just looks really bad. But, you know, like I said, I mean, we'll see how it goes. Maybe once they put the effects, or maybe once they get some feedback, they'll change the look of the hair up a little bit. But for now, it looks kind of silly. And, I mean, I don't know, with it being one of those things where, once again, they're adapting a video game into a different form of media, I don't know if everybody can pull a Castlevania and do it right. So, I don't know, maybe the series will be good, maybe it won't. I mean, like I said, I guess it remains to be seen. But for the moment, it just looks silly, so I don't know. It is what it is, I guess. Moving on, BoJack Season 6 got confirmed, which, yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious that it was going to get a Season 6. The show's doing really good. Fans love it. Critics like it. The story doesn't seem like it's over yet, so seems pretty obvious, but I mean, I guess it's a good thing to just hear that it didn't get, like, canceled or whatever. So, I mean, that's exciting. I mean, I'm looking forward to that. I've watched every season as it's been coming out, and I've enjoyed them all. So, yeah, I mean, if anyone hasn't watched BoJack Horseman, go watch it. I think you'll enjoy it. And yeah, that's basically it for that story. Let's see what else I got on here. Oh, this is an interesting one. So, Tom Hanks apparently got really emotional recording Toy Story 4. At least that's what the story says. And I think that's a really interesting story because after Toy Story 3, with the way it ended, people felt that the way Toy Story, like the story had ended, was very definitive, and they felt that the story was over. So when they heard that there was going to be a Toy Story 4, a lot of people got kind of upset, and they were saying that it sounded like they're just trying to milk the franchise, you know what I mean? That it sounds like very money hungry, right? And I don't know, when I heard about it, I didn't have as much of a reaction as other people because I have faith in Pixar, at least when it comes to Toy Story. I think that, you know, overall their movies are really good. I mean, Cars movies, not that great, but especially when it comes to Toy Story, I feel like that's their, like, main series. Like, that's the first series they ever made. It's like their key series. I don't think they would just make another one for a cash grab. I think they're passionate about it. So when I heard about Toy Story 4, I didn't have that same reaction. I was a little bit more like, okay, let's see where this goes. And I don't know, hearing that Tom Hanks is getting very emotional while recording it, like, I think that's a good sign. I mean, think about it. He's been making this series. He's been coming out in this series for years now, for decades. And the fact that recording lines for this newest one got him emotional, like, that probably says that there's something in the movie that's really powerful, or like something that really pulls at the heartstrings, you know what I mean? And so I think that's a good sign. And I'm, like, pretty excited to see the movie now. I mean, last I had heard, I think it was supposed to be about Woody looking for that little, porcelain doll, Bo Peep, because like in the first two movies, he has like a romance with her. But then in the beginning of the third one, they talk about how like she and some of the other toys got sold off. And so last I had heard, it's supposed to be about him on a journey to find her, to like see where she went. And I don't know, that sounds like a really interesting concept. And the fact that this is Pixar, who does do some interesting things with their movies, like it does some like mature things, you know what I mean? Like in the third one, it almost looked like they were gonna die. Like that was a pretty heavy moment. And like the fact that Tom Hanks is crying, like I don't know, maybe they'll pull something really crazy and maybe they'll do something that'll really impress us. So I don't know. I mean, I'm really excited for that. So I don't know about you guys. I don't know if you guys feel as strongly about Toy Story as I do, but I don't know. I mean, I grew up with it and I just feel really strongly and I'm excited for it now. So finally, the last story I want to talk about, and likewise, it's another movie I kind of grew up with. Apparently, according to this last story, BBC honors Spirited Away in list of greatest foreign language films. And so basically, if you want to read through this story, it's a pretty interesting little article that talks about how the BBC apparently has like this list of like top foreign films. Apparently, they look at a bunch of films and they get a bunch of critics together, people vote on it, blah, 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 and then they choose like honor certain films. Apparently out of this like huge list, Spirited Away ranked 39th. And not only like is that pretty good, because that's pretty high up there, but it's actually the only animated film on the list. So I don't know about you guys. I don't know if you guys have a connection to Spirited Away, but I grew up watching that movie. I remember that I kind of want to say that might have been my like first exposure to anime, honestly, because I remember I was like in elementary school and some teacher put the movie on. I mean, I don't really know what her reason for it was, but all I know is that she put the movie on. I really enjoyed it, grew up with it. And so the fact that out of all the animated films across the world, this one was able to rank up there and be considered important and is getting honored, like that's really cool. Like I said, I don't know if you guys have any connection to Spirited Away, but I think it's a great movie. And I think the fact that it continues to still get recognition to this day is like really impressive and just really cool. So just want to throw that out there. If anyone's an anime fan, I just thought you'd appreciate the story. And so yeah, looking at my list, I believe that's the last of my news stories. Though the news amount of stories was a little short, I think the content itself makes up for it. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed those news stories, got something out of them. I thought they were interesting. So, moving on, it's time for the content creator spotlight. And this week, the channel I want to talk about is a little channel called The Legend of Jonathan. And what I think makes this channel special is that it's run by a 13-year-old kid named Jonathan. And I've talked to him here and there, like on Reddit and stuff. Basically, he is a kid who suffers from ADHD. And I know that at school, he says he really struggles with like getting bullied and people, messing with him because of his condition. And apparently he's had like a tough time because he went from like a special ed sort of program to like a normal class and normal school or whatever. I'm not too sure of like the fine details, but I get the gist of it. And I don't know. I mean, I think that's really sad that he's dealing with that. However, he seems to be like really brave about it. He's dealing with it the best he can. And part of that is that he runs this channel because it's something that he's really passionate about. And so if you check out his channel, I think his channel is great. Basically, he plays a bunch of Nintendo games and he does tutorials on how to like homebrew your consoles and stuff. And I don't know, I just think this channel is great because not only is it like a kid that's dealing with some stuff, but he's putting it into something creative and positive. But I also think it's cool because in this day and age where like a lot of kids are just playing Fortnite or GTA, and honestly, he's even said that like a lot of kids tell him like, oh, why are you covering Nintendo stuff instead of playing, Fortnite or GTA? I think it's cool that he sticks to what he wants to play and he plays it because that's what he enjoys. Like, I think that's admirable, you know what I mean? Like, he likes these games, so he plays what he wants. So if you check out his LPs, he has, Super Mario 64, he has Luigi's Mansion, he has Majora's Mask. I think he was playing Earthbound for a bit. And not only that, but he has, like, homebrew tutorials and stuff where he says, like, here's how to hack your 3DS, and here's how to put stuff on your Wii and all sorts of stuff like that. And it's just really interesting, you know what I mean? I think it's cool that he's putting himself out there and doing these videos that entertain him, that he likes. And that, you know, even though he's dealing with stuff, he's trying to be very constructive and positive about things. So I think that's great. So Legend of Jonathan, if you're listening to this, keep up the good work. Don't let people get you down. And don't pay attention to all those people who say to play things that are popular, you know what I mean? Things that are popular now won't even be popular like in a year, like even a few months. And just following the trends is dumb, you know what I mean? Follow what you want to follow, do what you want to do. And I think your videos and your tutorials are great. So yeah, keep up the good work, kid. And for anyone listening, I'd say, I think you should check out his channel. I think you should give him some love. If you enjoy any of his content whatsoever, I say give the kid a sub. He's at like 206 subs right now. So, you know, he could use a little bit of a boost. And so yeah, with that being said, another content creator spotlight finished, and that brings us to the end of the podcast. Once again, I apologize to everyone if the audio quality is really bad. Like I said, unfortunately, I am not at home with my usual setup with my mic, so I'm using my phone. But hey, you know, hopefully it wasn't too bad. Hopefully, through the power of editing magic, I managed to make it somewhat listenable. And yeah, sorry, I just feel kind of embarrassed, but yeah, with that being said, one more podcast down. Hopefully next week I will be back to my regular setup. And thank you once again for tuning in. My name has been Wannabe Reviewer. I'll catch you next time.
First breath, blossoming in a soil reclaimed from the past, where destiny